Okay.
The Detroit Lions offense is one that we love. We think it's going to be great. It's year 2, all these things. But PFF had an interesting article. I just want to read this to you, Craig. Get your
Okay.
thoughts.
Yeah.
PFF went through and
Oh,
they
they did
said,
the
all
X
right, this is,
factors or okay. They did a lot of stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
they go biggest strength, biggest weakness, X factor, rookie to watch. And it's like, all right, over under 9 win total. Under. I'm like, under. And he said, this is a difficult team to project because of how much they overachieved in 2022. We get it. But given how little the team improved on the offensive side of the ball this offseason, expect some regression in 2023. Now,
What?
yeah. So your thoughts on that?
I don't know what to say here because I know what everybody wants me to say. I'm starting to get a little frustrated because everywhere you see these rankings, right, coming off, whether it's CBS Sports, whether it's Bleacher Report, whether it's PFF, no matter who it is, when you're ranking quarterbacks, Goff gets put at like 16. Even if it's for fantasy, it doesn't matter, right? Like Goff's like at 16, 17. If they're ranking St. Brown, it's probably not as much love as he needs. We're not getting the offensive line's not getting the talk that I think maybe they should be. And so it feels like everybody thinks there's going to be regression. We'll talk about this later. The only place I'm worried about regression is the wide receiver core.
Sure.
And we have a whole segment devoted to that later on. But like, I honestly don't understand why the regression would be there. We talked about this last year, and I'm going to talk for a second here. I'm really sorry, Chris.
Hit it.
What was the thing last year before the season that we said all these position players, they're okay? Like we got Jamal Williams, Swift is always hurt. We have these wide receivers, mostly unknown. St. Brown had a really good rookie year. This was last year. But we said they have a fantastic offensive line. Mm-hmm. And so that good offensive line will make every position better because it gives everybody more time to do their job. So on paper, I understand the thought of regression, but last time I checked, that entire offensive line is back and even more healthy, hopefully, to start the year than it was to end the year last year. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give the argument of, sure, I could understand maybe a little regression because they outperformed. But the one place that I don't think outperformed was the offensive line. I think they almost met expectations. So what if they get even better and meet expectations? I'm done.
Oh, absolutely. Nope. And I'm going to go off what you're saying and add to that. So with the offensive line being really good, I think we underachieved in our rushing attack. And
there it is.
And we said,
okay,
both of our running backs were going to change. Jamal, love you, lots of touchdowns. But there's the wiggle, the make you miss is not there. And then Swift, you're not healthy and you miss holes and you don't put your head down when you should. And you just so there was a lot of good 8-yard runs last year by either one of those backs. And we're looking at like, man, you make one guy miss and you take that for 40. And we don't need to take every run 40 yards. But if you can have 10% of your wide open runs, because that's the thing about Ben Johnson, so schemed up, so awesome, creative. And then you go into year 2 of Ben Johnson. Last year was year 1 of him doing, and remember, even in the beginning of the season, it was who's calling plays. Remember Dan Campbell kind of wanted it, but he finally gave it up. So it's like, this is all Ben Johnson. I don't see how they regress.
I remember him testing Ben Johnson at the Senior Bowl. Yeah. Right? Like, oh, this will be a good opportunity to see how he calls plays. I'm like, you can't call like half the plays you want to call at this. But anyways, I don't understand the regression talk. I think what it comes back to is kind of that Detroit versus everybody mentality. People at the time were like, love what they did during the draft and during free agency. Everybody was like, I loved what they did with their backfield. I love the overhaul. It was time. Now, all of a sudden, Swift, he's going to the Eagles. He's settling in there. And Jamal Williams is with the Saints. And all of a sudden, people are like, you know what? I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I'm buying that these two guys are going to be better than the other two guys. What's not to buy? Like, I guess I don't understand that. And I think what you were talking about, the amount of runs last year where you said make one guy miss because the offensive line put him in position to make one guy miss. Swift would just cut outside. And often that would limit his potential. Williams couldn't make the one guy miss. Right. It was hard for him. Sometimes he did, but it was hard for him. That's not what his game is. His game is to fall forward. right? To get those extra few yards, not those extra 30 or 40 yards. Montgomery is better at making one guy miss. He just flat out is. And Gibbs has already shown better, what's the word I want to use? Poise, better,
just
a better mentality when he was at Alabama.
Yeah.
Like, he was a smarter runner in college than Swift was in the NFL.
Yeah. This
Georgia Tech too.
Yeah, this is going to be, I can't wait, because I think, and I know we're going against the grain. We're under center way more than any other team. I think it's second most under center snaps in the NFL. So we're
great. Jared Goff's awesome in play action. Let's do it.
Yeah, we're under center. We're running. We're doing so many things that if you can run successfully, and that was so frustrating last year. You saw really good things that just never materialized fully. It's like, again, are you going to break every run that is blocked really well for 60 yards? No, but if you can get one more pop a game, that's 16 rushes or 17 rushes a game that just give you flip the field. So, and I really don't see the regression at all.
Yeah, the only place I see regression is if Jared Goff decides he's in LA again, and that doesn't seem to be happening.
Yep.
If there was going to be regression, why did Ben Johnson say no at his opportunity to be a head coach?
That's right.
Like, why would he, knowing like, hey, you know what? This team probably doesn't have exactly what I thought it had. I'm just going to come back anyway. Like, he obviously sees something special happening. Like, obviously. There's another ranking that came out. They ranked head coaches, and Dan Campbell was sitting there at 18. I'm like, really, at 18? To have the talent that he had last year, almost make the playoffs, he's the 18th best coach? Seriously?
I know. It's like, am I? Yeah, and you said it, Jared Goff. We're gonna go with Jared Goff, but man, I was kind of looking at some games last season. Man, he's putting the ball on the money. He played so well, and so I think, and I love seeing that the diversity in the offense, which it's like we're gonna find what works each game. I just because there's enough to do. It's not like, well, they took away that. I'm not sure, because there was seasons with Detroit where it's just like, oh, we don't have our this play, or it's like, so I just feel like we should be fine.
No, we should be fine, and we are so multiple, and the changes that we made only help us be more multiple on the offensive side of things. And Jared Goff started proving last year that he doesn't even need necessarily everything around him to be perfect. He just needs to have the right system that fits his skill set.
Yes.
Because when receivers were in, when receivers were out, when players were hurt, when players were not, he still was good. He was still good.
Yep.
And when he had what he needs is a fairly clean pocket. But even the numbers when he was pressured were better. Like, across the board, he was just better because he had more confidence.
Yeah. No, we're gonna be good. I'm excited for the season. We'll be fine.
All right, so let's keep alternating back and forth Pistons lines. You good with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so right now what we want to talk about is the